I was wrong, okay? I've got to make a disclaimer. I apologize in advance for this. All of the information and data we saw presented from Tesla led us to believe that there was probably a lithium iron phosphate in the newly announced rear-wheel drive Model Y, but now that people have actually started taking delivery and we've actually seen VINs and people are now asking Tesla directly and getting answers, I'm now fairly confident, based on the new information that's been presented, that this is not a lithium iron phosphate Tesla, which is a bit of a bummer. In some ways, I guess it could be potentially good news if you were looking for a more affordable Tesla in the future, because starting next year, which is only a couple months away, the federal tax credit requirements are going to change. In fact, Tesla even says on their website, in the case of the Model 3, that while right now everything qualifies for the $7,500 credit, that next year that credit may be reduced. So the LFP Model 3, like the one I have, will probably get cut in half to like a $3,700 credit, and that's purely because the lithium iron phosphate battery pack in the Model 3 is made in China, so it's relying on foreign minerals, whereas the federal tax credit every year starts requiring more and more domestically mined minerals. So the downside is that we'll probably not get the full credit next year. We don't know for sure, but it's just looking less likely. Whereas if this new Model Y is actually relying on 2170 cells instead of LFP, yeah, it should still qualify just like the long-range Model Y and 3 qualify for the $7,500 credit. And on top of that, it's a pretty affordable Model Y in the first place. The only downside, of course, of the fact that it's not using lithium iron phosphate is, of course, the range and the degradation. So before, I would tell you that lithium iron phosphate is really cool and pretty neat because you can charge it to 100% every single day, and you don't have to worry about keeping it between 80% and 10% like you do with nickel-based batteries. But because it's got those 2170 cells, that means that the daily range of this car is honestly still not going to be all that great, because its high range percentage was looking at 260 miles at full, but now knowing it's not LFP, it means that at 80% the range is going to be closer to 200 miles. And because it's a smaller battery pack, probably reliant on nickel-based cells, that means that the cycle life is also not going to be quite as good as a lithium iron phosphate battery pack. So I'm honestly quite confused why Tesla decided to release this model. It means that it's fairly similar to that original standard range Model Y we got all those years ago. I suppose the range is about 20 miles better, but I mean, at highway speed and after a couple years of degradation, that's really honestly not that different from what they had before. Maybe just the margins have improved, so they feel more comfortable offering a cheaper tier now. But because your range is lower, that also means that you're going to run up cycles a lot faster than you would with a long range. So there is honestly more reasons than before, in my opinion, to opt for the long range Model Y. Even though it did just get a price hike, it's honestly not that much more expensive than the rear wheel drive in the first place, and you get so many things added along with it. Now that someone has actually taken delivery of the new rear wheel drive Model Y, we can see that they take out a couple things, basic things like the parcel shelf. The fog lamps are no longer present, although you still get the HEPA air filtration system, and you still get the full premium sound system that you would get from the long range. So there's less overall differences between the long range and rear wheel drive of the Model Y compared to the 3, but still, in my opinion, the Model 3 with the lithium iron phosphate battery pack is totally worth it and absolutely livable. But this new battery pack, it's livable. It's not like I'm trying to say the entire product is worth skipping, but it's definitely not as great as I originally thought it was going to be. But personally, I'm not writing it off. If you're the kind of person that doesn't do a ton of road trips and you're not driving in the cold or icy weather all that much, then this Model Y will probably qualify for a full $7,500 rebate next year when the federal EV tax credit converts into a point of sale discount, which means you'll have $7,500 less to pay Tesla when you take delivery. And the only compromise is, okay, you just gotta live with a little over 200 miles, and that's just gonna result in you having to stop a little bit more frequently on road trips. Yeah, I think a lot of people could live with that. A lot of people love having a hatchback. They love the higher ride height of the Model Y. The included sound system, of course, is amazing, and the fact that this super cheap Model Y, which next year is probably going to be starting out the door under $40,000, still comes with a bioweapon defense mode. Like, it's still an amazing vehicle, even if the peak charging speed is 170 kilowatts instead of 250. Sure, it's a little bit of a bummer. I guess my only curiosity slash confusion with everything as to why this new Model Y doesn't make much sense compared to the old standard range Model Y from 2021 that they discontinued is the weight difference. I thought that the curb weight we saw being being so close to that of the Model Y long-range curb weight was a clear indication that, oh yeah, they're using iron-based batteries because those are less energy dense, so they're a bit heavier, but they're more stable and they have a higher cycle life and everything. So I was so convinced that they had just moved the LFP pack into the Model Y, but now that we're seeing people take delivery and they go into the system information, does not list the battery type like it does in my Model 3. It does say iron phosphate. And also, the better indication of whether or not your Tesla has lithium iron phosphate is the charging recommendation. On my Model 3, which is LFP, it says we recommend charging to 100% at least once a week to maintain battery health. And if you're on a nickel-based battery, it's going to tell you to charge to 80% for daily driving and only charge to full right before a road trip. And this one is still saying that. So I guess there's a chance that maybe Tesla put in the wrong firmware in this Model Y or something, but honestly, I kind of doubt that. But if I end up being proven wrong and it actually is LFP all along, I will take this video down and issue a correction. But as of today, I'm going to link this video in the comments of previous videos I've made where I claimed that I was pretty sure the rear-wheel drive Model Y was gonna be LFP. Now that we know it's not, fairly confidently, I really hope I don't spread around too much misinformation because that's kind of a fear of mine. I love speculating, but I don't want to lead people on into thinking they're buying one thing and getting another. So if any of you ended up canceling your orders or were really planning on getting one because of that speculation, I apologize. I genuinely want to help inform people as much as possible. So as soon as I find out that I make mistakes like this, I try to issue an apology and a clarification as quickly as I can. Trying to do better, but you know, you guys help out a lot with all of your infinite knowledge in the comments below. So thanks again for that. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.